Hello and welcome everyone to our next episode of Help and Trade podcast, where we give space to entrepreneurs and their startups. My today's guest is Femke Kroes. Femke is an entrepreneur in Switzerland with a very interesting background, tons of experience, and I think it's worth sharing them. Femke, please introduce yourself and the stage is yours.
I'm Femke. I am from Holland and living for over 5 years in Basel now. I am over 10 years an entrepreneur. I own 2 companies. One is focused on communication, actually how to communicate better for companies. And the other one is that I'm a startup mentor and I help people to start up the business. And that's also my main business in Basel.
Great. Now let's do things step by step. So let's start with your entrepreneurial path. How did you even get to it?
Yes. Well, I have worked for over 20 years in comms, always as an employee. In different countries. Always when I changed jobs to other companies, the first year or the first 2 years were nice. I was excited, learning new things. And then I was getting bored, really bored, because I had to repeat things. I always had the feeling that I was not completely in charge and I had to do what people asked me to do, even if I didn't believe in it. And in the meanwhile, after a few years, other companies would sometimes ask me if I wanted to do a freelance job for them. I couldn't do that because I was employed by other companies. But that made me realize that I could maybe start up my own business. So that's what I did. I just stopped my job, started up my business, and so specialized in communication as a communication consultant. And that was immediately a success. It went really well, a lot of work. I created a network of freelancers around me. And because that went really smoothly, that process, and I really enjoyed it and was very enthusiastic about it, people saw that. And then people came to me and said, can you help me? Because you seem to know how to do it and make it successful. And then I started my second company, still in Holland, and that was a startup mentor. And when I moved to Switzerland, I brought up 2 companies actually with me. Very quickly I already realized that there is actually a big market for a startup mentor to help people start up their own business, with a lot of experts living here, following their partners, suddenly out of work, and realized now finally I can do what I wanted to do for ages. I don't work only for experts though. I also work for Swiss people and Switzerland-wide. That's my story.
Great. So now you keep still both businesses, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
All right. And the majority is though in the business startup?
Yeah, in Switzerland the majority is in startup. And in Holland, and I also work in England, it's a bit 50-50, I guess. Yeah.
How does it look when you are hired, for example, for the work of a communication advisor or to take care of the communication of the startup of the businesses? What is the entire premise or the process behind it? How do you start and how do you actually deliver for your customers?
I'm really hired for a lot of different things. But very often it's based on positioning, so repositioning. So there is already communication into place of companies, but I realize it's not really up to date or doesn't really say what they offer. It's not really them. And then I come on board and talk with them what problems they encounter, why they think it's not good communication anymore. And then I make a plan for them, proposal. And then very often I do everything from A till Z. I don't do that on my own, of course, but that means completely rebranding an organization with all the tools involved. And I work with a team of website builders, social media experts, designers, photographers, filmers to deliver that. But that's then all under my name. That's one part. But I also work with companies who have I call them small projects. And sometimes for them, they are big projects. They want to change their house style or they want to be able to communicate with the community and they don't know how to do. And sometimes I only advise them and sometimes I do advise and do also implementation of the product then we deliver, like a newsletter or promotion materials. So it's very diverse and therefore very nice as well.
I can imagine. I'm just wondering, how do you even break the ice with your customers? Because I can imagine it's sometimes really difficult to talk about the challenges. Although between the companies, I assume it's probably easier because there is a business need behind it. Yeah. Nevertheless, you still have to break the ice in order to get to the core of the problem.
Yes.
How is there some tactics that you have in your pocket or a sleeve that you can actually put out to public?
I always say to everybody, actually, it doesn't matter if it's a company or I call it my startup clients, I am very Dutch. It's the first thing I always say. So, and I mean with that, it's a very direct, honest approach. And honest towards my client, but also about myself. So if I have a conversation with a client, no matter if it's a startup or a company, and listen to the issues they have, the problems, or what they're stuck in, quite often I say first, I'm famous for that, like, I have to think about this. I don't have an answer right now. I do not know how to approach that. People like this, I think, because that gives them the feeling like you really have to think, you're with me. You also don't know. I'm not on my own that I don't know this answer. You also have to think about it. So that's being honest. And the other thing is that I also honest about what I can do for my clients and what external support I need as well to deliver them really professional, the most good quality product or service. So I think my icebreaker is, and probably my tip is, like, be yourself the way you are. Don't pretend you're somebody else. Don't pretend you have knowledge you do not have. Then you can create a connection that people think, I understand, you're human. You understand my problem. Listening, also very important. I said the other day to somebody, sometimes my job is, especially with an intake, is only listening. 80-90%, I'm only listening. But that's what people want, to be heard. So make sure that people know that you take them serious. Honest and taking them serious.
Great. Then the next question in specifically this field of communication is, of course, how do you acquire customers? Because that's, for the beginner entrepreneurs, is probably the hardest part. If you want to be a freelancer, it's like, is it your reputation that precedes your deeds? Or do you actually also have to actively go after customers? Because you have tons of experience. You have also 20 years of industry experience.
Yeah.
So there is plenty of network that you already created that definitely helps you out at the very beginning. But when you, for example, switched countries, that's a different play altogether.
Yes. For me, it's my network is very important. And that's a cliche, but it is. And I do not like networking, so that's a problem as well. But I have in my work always a very personal approach. It's not enough work coming in and I need more work. I'm not afraid to go to people I trust in my network and say, hello, how are you doing? Just to let you know, I have time available for new projects. Probably not within your company, but if you do know somebody, and I do that. And that brings referrals, so that makes my network even bigger. Now, moving to another country, that is a completely different cup of tea, because you're right, I didn't have any network. And I first went into the big companies in Basel to see if they needed somebody like me, and they didn't need somebody like me because they had already all their agencies they worked with and for years, and they didn't want to change that. Very frustrating process. And I thought, with my startup experience, there is a market here, but how do people know me? And then I started as a volunteer for the Basel Startup Academy. From there, I was entering other new networks, but also I could show people what I do and the way I work and kind of person I am. And from there, it worked. And from one thing to the other, I like my job. I really love my job, and without promoting myself, because I'm not good at promoting myself, I like to talk about my work. And I never realized, but I do think it does help. So if I am somewhere with friends and people ask me how is life or how's work, work is an important part of my life. So I talk about it. And then I'm very enthusiastic, apparently. So people talk about that again. So if they hear somebody wants to start up the business, they say, oh, go to Femke. She knows what she's doing, or she's a very nice person, or she's tough, but she keeps you going. I don't know. So that's how I'm doing. So I don't really have a whole marketing approach. What is a bit weird, because I help other startups to really put that into place with the steps. But for me, this is working still. So now, if you don't mind, we transition to your second business. Yes. Which is the business coaching, mentoring. How is that going? That goes well. Enjoy it. I had to find my way a little bit in it because suddenly I was working also with a lot of different cultures and people from different backgrounds. But it goes well. And well in a way is that I'm getting more and more clients. Well, in a way, what's very important for me, that I'm still enjoying it. And I also thinking about maybe developing something else. I work mainly one-to-one. What is nice, but it's very intense. And the other thing is that it requires me also a lot of effort to get in, only single clients and stay with me for a long term as well. And that's for not everybody possible, and not everybody wants that. So my biggest challenge is to see if I can work a little bit more with small groups. But it's a nice, I think Switzerland is a nice place to develop your own business. There is a lot of opportunities still. It's easy to start up your own business from a whole admin point of view, regulation. So I do enjoy that. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
How do your sessions actually look like when you first introduce to your clients? Because, for example, through the Basel Startup Academy, you can be introduced to potential clients.
Yeah.
How does that start, again, process-wise, where you have the client in front of you and you try to get all the information packed into, for example, one session with you? Or do you also have sometimes some kind of like a specific questions in order to not only break the ice, but really get to the core of what does the person really want? Because sometimes we speak out our problems which are on the surface, but underneath is the real core problem that needs to be solved or a challenge that needs to be overtaken.
That's a very good point, because this is what I really see. What is important is, if I'm going to work with somebody, is there a connection? Is there a click? Can we work together because we do this together? And B, and their ego, I mean, it's like, can I help you? Is your question, can I help you with your question or your demand or what you ask for? Very important. So I always have an intake. Somebody says, we might be interested to work with you, and I say, that's very nice, but you come to my office for an hour and I want to know who you are and what your plans are. And sometimes that doesn't work out from my side or from the other side, because I also talk a lot about how I work. That's sort of step one. Then if we agree, we're gonna work together, then the first thing I'm gonna ask is do a little pitch in front of me. And for a lot of people, that is the first time they really speak loudly and open in front of a stranger about their company. They find it very difficult, but this is how it starts. If you cannot tell about your company to an audience you do not know, then you have to go back to the drawing, to the desk, and think about it, because you have to be comfortable in what you're doing. And then, and that's what you refer to, I think, as well, what happens very often is, there's two things what can happen. Well, three things. One thing, it's brilliant, good idea, let's work on it. What can happen is that I'm going to ask the person, is this really what you want? Do you really want to become an entrepreneur? So we talk about an entrepreneur journey. Do you really want to become an entrepreneur? I like your concept. I understand you're good in it. But from that office job you're doing now, for example, into an entrepreneur is a completely different lifestyle. Are you ready for that? Are you looking forward to it? That's a journey we can go into. Another journey is that I'm challenging people on what they're going to offer. Because sometimes, quite often, I don't really understand what the offer is. Or it's a lot. Or it's just too small. Or I don't understand who the target group is. So I'm going to, the whole peeling process starts. This is how I call it. I'm going to peel it down to the basic. What is it, what you offer? And then the biggest question in all my sessions are always constantly, why? Why are you doing what you're doing? What do you expect? Why is this your customer? Why do you think that? When people ask me, they ask me very often for advice, and then they always get it back, and I say, or I ask them, why do you ask this? What do you think yourself? Why is this a question? So this is a bit how the session look like. But also into really practical, so action plans, because what happens very often with entrepreneurs is that they keep on stuck. They're stuck their thoughts. They can't get out of their thoughts. So it's like a vicious circle. They can't put their thoughts actually really on paper and make it work and implement it in an action plan and go live. So I help them to go from these thoughts into an action plan. What are the steps I have to take now? What do I have to do? That's a bit how the sessions are. It's very lively. I do that sometimes via walking as well, because I think moving around, even moving around in my office, will create more space and actually be able to see things in a different way. I aim that you always go away from my office or after meeting with me with fresh ideas, with new inspiration, really feeling energized and a backpack full of ideas to be able to move on.
Interesting. I can imagine that, you had to face many different entrepreneurs and many different ideas. Is there something that you consider as a basic bias that entrepreneurs have before they start a business that you need to break in order to make it moving again?
Yeah, there is always, with entrepreneurs, I cannot do this, or I do not know how to do it. And that's very often, it stops the process. It's again a vicious circle. I cannot do this. And there are several variations on that. I cannot do it. I'm afraid to do it. I've never done this before. And that is in different areas because it depends on where you're comfortable in. But what I see very often is once the company is live and to market your company and go out there on stage, that doesn't have to be a physical stage, but show who you are, show what your product is, selling yourself, that's a big issue for a lot of people. So the ideas are really very often very good and creative, and the process towards it, making the website very interesting, but then the real work starts. And that's a struggle for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Well, I have to say I have something very similar. Hey, we are going live. Let's do this. We have to work on a marketing campaign, how to do the advertising, things I never had to touch in my life before.
Yep.
And now it's becoming a reality and I have to sit down and consider it as a fact. It needs to be done and needs to have a check on it. And not once, but probably every week and regularly and always going on in it. Even though I don't like it necessarily, but it's for the success of the company, so it has to be done.
Yeah. And very often to the stage before you go live, it's a very comfort and very adrenaline driven. Finally, I'm going to make my dream true. And it's comfort because you're not in the out already. It's nice to talk about it with friends because people ask, how's it going? But then once you go live, it's not how's it going or what about your plans, it's about how successful is your business. And you actually want to have your business from day one successful, what is in general not very likely. I mean, you have them sometimes, but it's not very often like that. And you have to get out of your comfort zone. So till you go live is very often in your comfort zone, and then you go live, and then you have to go out there and have to do things. Don't feel always that good or nice. But that's difficult for a lot of entrepreneurs because they only want to do actually what they could in or what they really love to do. Comes very often from a passion, and they think if I do this, I can do 40 hours a week, my passion, but that's not part of being an entrepreneur. There's a lot of other work that needs to be done as well.
I see that very often when I talk to other people that their very first image of becoming freelancer or entrepreneur was, I'm going to do what I love and only that, and I will have time for sport and I will have time for all sorts of activities which I always wanted to start. Whereas then after a few months, the talk comes, well, actually, there is a lot of administration behind it. There is a lot of tasks which I don't like to do, but it has to be done. There is networking, which is necessarily an essential for the success of the company. And loads of people didn't expect it to happen, and it discouraged them right away from the beginning before they even deliver a product or even a prototype to begin with. But then some of them, that's like a filtering who comes through it.
Yep.
From what I can see as of now, is on a good path to become actually a successful entrepreneur.
Yep.
Even if it fails later on, but they already have the mindset for it.
Yes.
The setup is there in order to start something else again. They already know that, that 20% is probably what I like to do, and the rest is actually the real entrepreneurship, which is a lot of courage, times, effort.
Yeah, and it's 24/7 there.
Yes.
The first 5-6 years, I almost couldn't take holiday, I thought, because what if a customer needs me and I'm not there or I can't deliver? But also having a holiday means no money, no income, make me nervous. Also the fact that you don't know what you will earn next year in general is difficult. It's a completely lifestyle change. And you're right, in the end, how much of your time you really do what you love and how much of your time, you're occupied with all the other things that you might not always enjoy, that's not always in balance. But you get a lot back for it as well, as they say. But you do. It's a lot of freedom. Being able to do what you really want to do is amazing. I see also the opposite way. A lot of people who are in offices go there every day and are not happy.
Yeah, it's probably a basic problem of majority of population.
Yeah.
There are countries where people are just happier, some less so, of course. Some are more fortunate than others.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I personally believe that entrepreneurship is a way forward, even though if it's maybe just a side job next to a normal job, but something as fulfilling as entrepreneurship can be, could be a great opportunity for a lot of people.
I think so. But you're right. Not everybody makes it as an entrepreneur, but you do need something in you. What adventure, not to be too scared, open for change. Now everybody always say, yes, of course, but that's important. Do things different than you had first in mind. That needs a little bit in your genes, I think. Because some skills you can learn, and some thing is just in you, the way you are. You're not afraid for, and that's important. And that's not easy to find out. I mean, I think I don't have a manual for it, but therefore that conversation about your idea is nice, but are you also an entrepreneur, or do you know what being an entrepreneur is involved with, what impact that has got on your life, on your relationship, is a very important conversation as well.
Very much.
Yeah.
Now, from the previous talk we had before the podcast recording, you said that you believe that everybody can be an entrepreneur. Why do you believe so?
I think, can be an entrepreneur and even a successful entrepreneur, huh? I think that if you really, really believe in something and you are willing to fight for it and to work hard for it and put a lot of determination in and get out of your comfort zone, all the things I've mentioned before, you can do anything you want. And I think the only limits are health, because that's out of your control. But for all the other things, it's a solution, it's a way out, it's working towards. But you do need to be really determined. I mean, it's hard working. It doesn't come easy. I mean, if you would have asked me 20 years ago, or asked my family, Femke having their own business, they would laugh. That's the shy girl who never put her finger up in the class and never opened her mouth. But I strongly believe I really strongly believe this is what I want to do. I want to have that freedom as well. I want to be in charge. I want to do things the way I have in my mind. So this is what I mean with, if you really want something, that's actually with everything in life. So also included entrepreneurship. If you really want it, accept health, again, you can do it. I think we humans can do so much more things than what we think. We just limit ourselves in our heads with stories. I cannot do it. I'm not good enough. I've never done it before. And there's no reason. Why not?
Now, from your experience, what do you think would be the best advice for anyone who wants to start anything? Because entrepreneurship is one thing, of course, but it also involves hobbies, your goals, even dreams. Mm-hmm. Although I don't necessarily believe dreams, because if you frame dreams as dreams, they only stay dreams.
They stay dreams, yeah.
So you have to talk about goals.
Yes.
And you have to put them on a time frame as well.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice?
So you have some thoughts about setting up your own business, for example. Yeah. Well, the first thing is, don't do this on your own. This is not about selling or getting a professional, but share your thoughts with somebody else, people you trust. Because what is not good to do is keep it with yourself. Because then you can think about all the buts. I can do this but, or, it's too risky so share. That's one thing. Take time. I see very often entrepreneurs coming in and think, yes, this is it. I know it, but now I need a website. And actually within 3 weeks, I want to go live. I mean, this is a bit off the top, but it does happen. And starting up your business very often needs some time to let sink things in for yourself. Again, talk with other people, take a look around. What does your competitor doing? What do you like about it? So you need time. And that's difficult. That's a conflict, because once people have decided they want to start up their own business, they want to do it now. They don't want to wait. I know it. I know exactly what I want, they're telling me. And then they tell me their concept and I think, oh, I do not understand. It's maybe not that special. I know a lot of people who are doing exactly the same. What makes you different? So it's to create the base of your company. What is it? For who is it? What values are important for me? Takes time. A lot of thinking time. So you need to create that time for yourself, and you need people around you who can help you with it. Doesn't have to be, again, always professional, but you need to be surrounded with people who can help you through that process. That's very important. First step.
Great. Very encouraging, I must say. Also, it doesn't sound like it's impossible.
It's not impossible. No, it's not. Again, I'm a strong believer is that you can do it. Yeah.
Great.
But the thing is, you need people around you to help you, but you are in charge. So the excuses you think they are excuses you have created and nobody else. So you are in charge if you become successful or not.
Very interesting. I totally agree with your thoughts and your advice as well. I see it also in myself that often I would like to blame something on a failure of someone else, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to build here something. So if someone is responsible for anything, it is me, me personally, and it is me who needs to try to push it forward. It will be, of course, a different story once we get a co-founders on board, or even investors who have a broad network of people who can help you out. That's a whole different story altogether. But at the end of the day, I'm the responsible person and I need to push it.
True. Well, the other thing, I said it to a client to me last week, what is also important in that first stage, it's a lot of work. You do a lot of work and you tend to normally to look at what is not going wrong or what you still have to do. But it's very important to take time also sometimes to, make a list. This is what I have achieved the last week or the last month. Little steps as well. You have done it and compare it what you did do a year ago, probably sitting in that office. And because there are so many things to do when you set up a business, you really very often get in the modus of, another list. I have to do this and this. This is not going wrong. This is going slower than expected. But also take time to reflect and focus on the positive things, what you have already achieved. I'm terrible with that as well. Once I've finished something, what I should be proud of, I'm already moving to the next thing. It's actually a bit of a pity. Because you should, and as an entrepreneur, you can take that time to celebrate in whatever way is good for you to celebrate. Like, I have achieved this. Or I had something very difficult and, sleepless nights about it. And look where I'm standing now. It's fixed, or I find another way, or I found somebody to help me. Very important.
Femke, unfortunately, we're reaching the time limit of our podcast. Nevertheless, is there something you would like to share with our audience? Something, advice, whether into your life or entrepreneurship path or career, anything. And also, please share your contact details so that people can reach out to you.
Yes. Well, it's on my website. It's saying it's for a long time with me. It's from Pippi Longstocking. And that says, and I've mentioned before, but I find it very important, is I've never done it before. So I'm sure I can do it. No matter what you do in life, I think this can be very helpful. People can contact me via my website, www.yourbusinessmentor.ch, anytime. And always happy to have an intake with somebody or exchange thoughts about an idea you have.
Of course. I'll make sure to share your contact details in our blog post, just as well in our social media. And with that, this is also the parting message from me. Thank you for listening, dear audience. It was great to have Femke on our podcast. And please share your thoughts, your comments via our social media channels, Help and Trade on Facebook, just as well as our website, helpandtrade.com. And we also have a LinkedIn page for Help and Trade again. So that would be great. And see you in the next episode. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.